Hello, Presentation Mastery. Under this podcast series, this is next episode. Since childhood, I used to like reading. I used to read everything, including newspapers. I used to go to library and read different newspapers because in my house there is only one newspaper used to come. But to read the others, I used to go to library, and there I used to read other chronicles like Reader Digest and a few other things, including novels. But later, reading almost stopped because too much traveling and there is not much time to read. Like paper book reading becomes almost stopped because every time, whenever we have free time, it will be going on the computers. Whatever I read in last 20-25 years was mainly the novels like Richard Hadley Chess, James Hadley Chess, or Sidney Sheldon, those kind of things. But in way like last week, last month, I decided to I was going through the Audible and I got a deal and I was able to read the audiobooks and I saw Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs as a biography. I have read biographies before. I read biography of uh, Straight from the Guts. That was the G when I was in G, and how he changed the company like through his gut feelings. Uh, but after that, not much. And last month, I got a chance to read the biography of Steve Jobs. So I wanted to discuss about that. This book was written by Walter Isaacson, the very well notable biographer. He has written biographies of several notable people. I had never read him before. This was the first time. So how it started? Steve Jobs, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, uh, Zuckerberg, Bill Gates. Those are like our icons, role models. We everybody, including the uh, millennials, pre-millennials, up to Gen Z, they can look at them as their role model. And it is always challenging to understand about them because whenever we see certain things in the uh, media, that may not be the right image or the full image, what I want to say. Uh, it's like a lamp is there, but lamp will be lighting everything, but there will be shadows or even darkness under it. So, if you want to understand fully, we have to read their biography. And Steve Jobs' biography was the best one, and by Walter Isaacson. I'm going to segregate how he has written his biography. The biography is almost 25 hours long in audiobook. I listened it over a month, almost 1 hour daily, and I completed it within a month. The biography has been segregated like this. First, Walter describes how this he started the biography of Steve Jobs. That is the first one. Then second part comes with Steve Jobs' uh, parents and his early childhood up to school. Then second part comes his college and uh, before he started the Apple. So that was the second part. Then third part, of course, he started Apple with Steve Wozniak uh, up to the point that he was ousted from the Apple, the company which he founded himself. Fourth part comes with Apple to Pixar, his transition, and again he joined as Apple II. And then the fourth part, or like last part, is probably this is the last part, his cancer journey and his battle with the cancer. So let me summarize what I heard in that audiobook. First of all, Walter Isaacson explains why he started the biography. He started with the note that he got a call from the Steve Jobs, and Walter is a very famous biographer, and he's always busy with some certain things. But when the call came from Steve Jobs, he took it, and Steve Jobs asked him to write his biography. This was the first request around 1998, or that during that time. Walter just laughed because he said, "Well, I'm currently busy with certain projects what are going on. Apart from that, he was wondering because you are very young. Steve Jobs was an iconic figure even in the 80s and 90s, but you are very young, like just in the 40s. Come in 60s, 70s, then we'll write your biography because we'll have the full picture." So he wrote him off. But Steve Jobs insisted. Even Walter went to see him, like he wanted to see him. And the first thing Walter explains the Steve Jobs quality. Everywhere else, whenever Walter goes for a biography, he will have a meeting with his client. But with Jobs, he would take a walk. That was a very surprising thing. And he explained that during the entire biography how Steve Jobs used to do this. Steve Jobs took a walk with Walter, and he said he want to his biography to be published. As the reason described, Walter rejected that offer because he said, "You are very young, and there's some time, and I am already busy." You don't know why Job thought that why he wanted to write biography. Probably will come to when we start reading or listening to the audiobook, it comes there. So that was the first part. Now, latter point in time, we understood Steve Jobs was battling with the cancer, and now it has to be written. The biography has to be there. So Walter met him, but Walter put a condition that we want to show you as a person everything, including negative points. Are you okay? What Walter was hinting that he's going to meet everybody to understand about him, including his enemies, because that was the most point he wanted to make. Steve Jobs, such a larger than life figure, of course, he had his opposition. Steve Jobs allowed it. He said he can meet everybody and understand about it, and he can write the exact biography. So Walter did his study. He met all his relative friend, everything, and then biography starts. So the point number one, he started with that it was a 1950s. A guy comes from Middle East, uh, Syria to be perfect, and he meets his fellow student girl in the university, and they fall in love. Now the girl's parents are very Orthodox Christian, and uh, the guy, what is biological father of Steve Jobs, Abdul Fateh Jandali. Uh, of course, the family won't allow, but her father was very sick, and afterwards it was very clear he will be dying, and then so there were some financial things which he explained, and that's why the marriage did not take place. His parents did not marry. Even he described how his mother went to Syria for some time to live there, and he came back because that was the 1950s time. And if you understand, Middle East was very turmoil. The atmosphere was not that friendly, or uh, but she stayed there and then she came back. When she was pregnant with Steve Jobs, her father was still alive, so she decided to give the first child to adoption, and then she moved from Michigan to California. There, she put a condition that her child should be adopted somewhere. They should give him the college education. So the things Walter wrote in his biography, they are very detailed, and we understand how the things started. Now the Job, the job, who adopted the Steve. Actually, Steve Jobs' biological mother didn't wanted that. She did not sign the adoption paper for some time because she was not sure he will get the college education. But ultimately, she signed. And adoption process is such a way that the person adopts it is not aware of the biological parents generally. Why this is important? Because that's how we want to understand how Steve Jobs becomes Steve Jobs, the way he is. So that was this was very important, and Walter explained it very. It was a very good narration, I would say. Next, when Job was like 4 or 5 years old, like the story comes, whenever he speak with his friends, he always has some kind of grudge, or he understood that he is adopted. The thing is, it was California, Bay Area, that Oakland, Palo Alto, those areas, and it was like some Asian kids used to get adopted there. When they will look into mirror, they will clearly, I mean, kid will clearly understand he is adopted. But Steve Jobs, it was not the condition. Like he wouldn't, when he look into mirror, he wouldn't say that he is a part of it. But somehow he was getting the feeling, and with his friends' interaction, Walter was able to explain like how his mental thing was, how he was becoming. Uh, that's why I'm explaining. And Walter, I think Walter explained it very, narrated it very thoroughly. So Steve Jobs was outstanding in the class, but at the same time, he was very, very adamant. He wouldn't follow that everybody follow. Like whatever the normal children will do, Steve won't do. He will do what is correct, and something is correct according to him. He won't do because teachers are telling. So this was able. This was Walter able to project or narrate very nicely. He gave the examples like when he was in the fourth or fifth grade. Uh, Naturally, his uh, attitude, ego, all those things were playing very part. And Steve Jobs' parents were called in the school, and they say your uh, son is so outstanding, you can put him in the sixth grade. Like I mean, they asked him to skip 2 grades because they said he is that much capable. Um, so they decided to put him into another school, but probably not 2 years, 1 year, and that makes him even change the house. Steve Jobs' parents were not that adopted parent that they were not that rich as we see, but they did, and they moved to another school district, and there Steve Jobs has to walk, but his attitude or what Walter says tantrum, Steve's tantrum was there. Steve Jobs' parent took him into the church, but he couldn't like it. I don't know why. I mean, because Steve Jobs clearly didn't know his background or his parents or anything. But he would ask the father, like the example is given in the book that he asked his father in the church, like showed some third world countries, and they said why God is not helping there or something like that. He asked, and whatever answer father gave, he wouldn't like it, and then he stopped going to the church. But why this incident was important? Because he started going to the Hare Rama, Hare Krishna movement. So that was very important. Because wherever he was staying, that Hare Krishna movement was there somewhere nearby. Now it is very unclear how. I mean, that is not very clearly told, like how he went there. But Steve Jobs somehow started mingling with the Hare Krishna temple. I mean Hare Krishna movement, and up to the point that he became vegetarian. Now this was 1960 to 70, and becoming vegetarian in uh, California was a very big thing. Not only vegetarian, he became like a fruitarian, and he used to have his lunch, dinner used with fruits. Even Walter explained that his friends and everybody would call him names. I mean, they're literally verbally brutalizing him like he smells like fruit. That's how it has been told. But he wouldn't mind anything. Steve doesn't care. because that was Walter was trying to prove. People are calling him like he smells like fruit, but he wouldn't care, and he would go the way he wanted, and that's how it, that's how it has been explained. Uh, so Steve was very clever in the school, and that time California was not really uh, like a Silicon Valley, but I mean full-fledged Silicon Valley, but it was a Silicon Valley because there were HP and some other semiconductor or microprocessor units were going on, and Steve Jobs loved to do all the experiments. So it was explained that he created a frequency counter, and then he called the HP CEO, Helmut Packard, and they asked him to come, and he gave the required material to him. And even Steve Jobs like was 13, 14, and he worked in the assembly line. Uh, so Steve was able to explain that was very great thing, like how we understand how he was. Apart from that, even he likes to create certain gadgets. So that's what his childhood was explained. Once he like all the electronic students, we understand. We see the speaker, but it can act as a mic as well, if you put it proper way. So Steve put something in the house that in his parents' bedroom he will put a speaker, and the other end will be at his in his room. So just looking at it, it will look like a speaker means it will sound like it will listen the sound, but it can listen back as well. So once parent understood, they disassembled that. So it was explained. So up to the school, it was like this. Then when he went to college, uh, Steve was very thorough, but I think they were explaining his emotional thing here. Uh, his attention was not in the studies because he wanted to study something more, or even he was a very bright technically, but somehow he was not liking the thing, and he decided to go to India for Neem Karoli Baba. I mean, in 1960s, 70s stories there. So we have to understand he had a very talented, technically sound, and which understands the chip's microprocessor. But his mindset probably we understood, and Walter was able to explain very thoroughly that he went there, he stayed some time, and during lifelong, it was not really clear how what he studied or what happened, but lifelong he stayed. He was vegetarian. I mean, he proclaimed vegetarian, tried to be vegetarian or fruitarian. So that's what probably that was the major impact it was been seen. And he continued to be with the Hare Krishna movement at least that time. Here, Walter is able to explain the his friendship with the Steve Wozniak, another geek. Uh, Steve, both Steves, what they did, it was somewhere in the technical gadget, it was written that if you make some technical arrangement, then you can call the AT&T, like AT&T phone. If you call, the long distance call become free. Uh, Now, this generation, we have to explain long distance call, short distance call, because they won't understand. Earlier, it was like this. If you are calling locally, that will be local call. And if you call outside it, it will be like a long distance call. It will be charged. So they found the material on the uh, library, what needs to be done, and they created that circuitry, and they were sold those boxes. Uh, so it was like this. So Steve was that technically thorough. After that, it was one of the another incidents that has been reported, like written well, that Steve went to LA, and in the arcade he was working in a game, like a video game company, the arcade, and the video game that chassis had so many components. So the when it was understood, like Steve has very great understanding in the or interest, and uh, the owner of that video company said that we have this chassis has so many components. If you can reduce it, then there was a big price was put. Now even Steve understand technically things, but he was not exactly was reducing it. So he didn't know exactly what to do, or he couldn't do the exact thing. He came back, and Steve Wozniak, he was expert. So they sat meticulously for 3 4 days, and they rewrote that printed circuit board and created the shorter version of that. Uh, and then it was three something $350. $700 was the price. So he shared with Steve Wozniak. But there was another thing, almost $3,000 or $4,000 worth of another package he got, which he did not told him. That is the point. And Steve Wozniak understood that 10 years later that Steve Jobs got not only $700, but something more than that, but he did not share with him. He asked Steve Wozniak asked Steve Jobs, and Steve Jobs apologized, and he said, "Yes, I needed money at that time, so I did it." So that was another very interesting thing. It was mentioned in the book. Now we come up to the his school and college. We understood. Then third part is Apple one. So now Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, they used to attend several seminars or exhibitions in the Palo Alto, Oakland, that area, because there used to be as it is a Silicon Valley, so there were several things used to come up there. Steve Jobs was very good in playing with the microprocessor based things. So he has created the Zilog 80, which was a microprocessing kit. He created it, and he printed the circuit board. And with Steve Wozniak, they showcased it. And Steve Jobs was so thorough with his self credit. They are showing it. He will be talking from the bottom of the heart. He was very passionate, and he wanted the great product to be designed. So when he was in the arcade or the exhibition, when he showed that his kit, it was sold. I mean, one guy came and he said, "I'll buy it in the but I don't take the simple chassis. Like you have to full full case it, and then we will sell. I'll buy it." And then he got the first offer of some thousand few like a thousand units, and with Steve. So let's call Wozniak and Steve. They made that order. It was and they got like now they started getting something uh, which uh, which of like they could create some kind of company. Around the same time, we understand there was another prodigy, Bill Gates. He was also coming into the picture, and he also decided to drop off the college. He did not go to Hare Ramakrishna, but he started the Microsoft. Steve Jobs were at the point that they wanted to start a company. They had nothing like this much was their initial. So they decided in their father's garage, they will start. And uh, Wozniak's help was absolutely required because Steve will be, even he understand fully thoroughly, but the working hand was the Wozniak. So the Apple company started, and in the garage. Why it was named Apple, it was not really clear because the Apple arcade were there in that area, and probably Steve become the fruitarian uh, that become the name of the tech company with Apple because it was sound little odd. Even it was mentioned because Bill Gates was a Microsoft, then there was IBM, HP was there, Thyla, Motorola, all those things were there. Their giants were there. But Steve decided his tech company named Apple, like as in food. And now here we are able to understand Steve's agility, his leadership skills, passionate, and details like the macro management people don't like, but Steve was like that. It is described as a Steve's tantrum. I mean, that's the word has been used because he whatever he feels, he will be behind it, and his coworker will understand that. That means that has to be done. Otherwise, he won't be happy. He will get that idea, and then once he understand the idea, he will thoroughly follow it. He will think from all the perspective and generate a product. He will think he just don't want something to sell, but he wanted a great product which will change. He wanted to change the consumer actions on that, consumer consumer should like his product and it should be a different one. That's how uh, he will be always, his view will be like that. So it was described the Apple one and then Macintosh. Even Steve came in contact with Bill Gates. Bill Gates used to write some software for his computer. Now here the Steve's point of view I wanted to explain. Microsoft or Bill Gates, they become giant or they are still giant, but they sell software. And where is the case? What is the hardware? Dell computer or anything. Like you can use Intel or Motorola or Zilog or whatever. They don't care. Bill Gates doesn't care. You assemble the computer by IBM or Compaq or anything. He doesn't care. He will sell the software. Here is the difference. Steve wanted a special thing, like whatever is the hardware, he wanted the software for that, and it should be a special one. He doesn't like the common one. So actually, the desktop technology, desktop revolution started with Apple computer. Before that, IBM computers were mainframes, very huge computers. That was not desktop, or people won't have it. But the desktop revolution started really with the Apple one. And Steve was always keen to have the hardware, special hardware, and the specialized software for it. It should be like that. So that's how it always used to be. So we understand the Macintosh one. Then first computer was named Lisa. Here something in the personal side of the Steve has been described. Like he, with his co-work, like with his friend, one of his friend, he fathered one child and he named her Lisa. And then he did not acknowledge the paternity for some reason, and some certain things are there. But Lisa was the first computer he named, and then become Macintosh one. And people liked it because the way they used to look at the IBM computers, the computer named Apple was different and special and good way, very good way special, because the way his screen, the keyboard, and the software inside it, floppy disk, everything. Steve Jobs will go up to each detail level that was explained. The Walter has explained, like Steve Jobs won't even go with the how where the socket of floppy disk will sit, or how is the keyboard. He will go into everything, or what should be the color, and his idea will be it should be the great one. So when the Macintosh one was inaugurated in New York, in front of the shareholders and all the great people, so Steve Jobs was very meticulous. Like he wanted this should become like an event or revolution. Like we are showing something great, and he succeeded. That was the first time when he inaugurated the Macintosh one, and he hit the mouse. The great graphical unit came, which was not present earlier, where the character interfaces, instead of graphical, it will be character interfaces. There will be one screen will come, and then it will keep on blinking, and then people can really type only text. But Steve was able to do graphical things, and when it was explained that when Steve Jobs inaugurated the first Macintosh one, and then he hit the enter, it came like Apple was rolled, and then several other things happened, which was very, very novel at that time. Those graphically windowing things. Now we don't even much understand, or it looks very funny for us. But that time, the rolling windows, different windows, or windows over windows, and then graphical, that was not there. Lots of things Steve brought it, and meticulously it was different from the personal computer. So that was a very wonderful narration, and you understand Steve, like everything. It was called tantrum. It was like literally, it was his co-workers will be sometimes with his macro management, they may be fed up, but they knew he wanted that way. That means it is like that. So the Macintosh one was a great thing. After that, the competition started, like as companies started building, and they went into the share market, and uh, the first time like Steve become millionaire, Steve and Wozniak both becomes millionaires. Then Wozniak got some accident, so he has to step out. After that, the political event was explained like since Steve was so meticulous in macro management, even smaller thing, they put him into the operations and uh, uh, they decided to bring a new CEO. So it was explained, and Steve got the new CEO, but ultimately they didn't go well, and Steve Jobs decided to leave the Apple, even whatever it was found. He founded that, but uh, he left, and then after that he started a new one, like the next one. That is, he again tried to do that, but he had a face lot of issues, like he should not be doing the same thing as Apple, and it should be different. So next one was still in progress. Then he met the Pixar. Those guys were doing some animation. Now here is the thing. Steve Jobs joined Pixar. Now the next phase starts. Like Apple one stopped and Pixar started. Pixar was just a small animation company. Steve went. Now what happened? They started doing the like it starts. It was a Steve touch. That's what we could say. Like Midas touch. That was Steve touch. And then we understood how Pixar came into the Disney and how the Toy Story 1 came. Disney was always in animation, but through Pixar, how they changed it. That's what we understand. Like the Toy Story 1 was a mega, mega, mega blockbuster. Now Toy Story 1 came, it was inaugurated in Los Angeles, and everybody saw Disney, uh, Disney picture and Toy Story 1. Okay. But here is the thing. After probably a week, there was another inauguration happened in Silicon Valley. Steve Jobs, Pixar. People thought that it's a Pixar movie and it is just distributed by Disney. So do you understand? It was a in the Los Angeles. It felt like it's a Disney movie, and here it is understood it's a Pixar movie distributed by Disney. Means everything was Pixar. And when in the at that time, the Larry Ellison, the Oracle guy, and all other big CEOs, they were not that big that time. They were there and they saw it, like they saw the Midas touch. That Steve went, then the Pixar. I mean, after that, Pixar was like an integral company of Disney, and uh, all those movies we saw, Toy Story 1, 2, or Bugs Life, and all those movies, those were like Pixar, and Steve was the main. And Steve made a very, very great name here, like because all his friends, because I'm mentioning his friends like Larry Ellison and HP, and then some other things. They Bill Gates even was his friend under his friend circle. So those were uh, Steve Jobs has so much charismatic figure in front of them. Now the next phase starts where the Apple is reeling, like Apple is going down. How it started and was in 1980s, that was not there. After that, IBM just IBM and Compaq and everything, they just almost crushed the Apple. Like they could Apple was there, but it was not doing the same thing. People called Steve back. So now Steve is holding a great company, Pixar, and there was always the talk was going on like Disney was trying to acquire it, and that was a great deal. But Steve accepted Apple too. How he accepted? He is not going to take any stock options. He will take $1 for year, 1 year for 1 year salary, $1. No stock option. Okay. And he was inducted as a intermediate in the board of the company. This is the Apple to started. And again, how we see the Apple revolution happen. He did it again. This time he ousted all the board members which were against him earlier, and he becomes CEO. But till almost 3 4 years, he calling himself as an intermediate only. and probably the I came from there. That's, I mean, there are several theories of I, but I for internet, or but I for intermediate also, because the Steve was intermediate CEO, and he would not take a salary or $1 salary per year and no stock options, because he was already so much. Pixar was running so great here, and Steve means he will go into the detail of each everything, and he was running two big companies, so it was, we can understand that. During this time, he started having the uh, like a his health problem, because till now, because of maintaining vegetarian diet and uh, even very fruitarian, like a fruitarian diet, he had a very good health. But that time he had some kidney stones, or, and I think that's where that Steve Jobs sensed or something. I don't know, sixth sense or something, because uh, he called Isaacson Walter to start his biography. But it was not. He did not start at that time. That during the Millennium crossover, we understand how Apple again reshaped. Steve will be notorious, we can call it, because he was a CEO, but he would say how the floppy disk direction in the computer, like, or he rejected, like he went to Japan, and then Sony, like a lot of interactions have been explained. Because that time the DVDs were coming in and the music, because Sony was in the music, and Steve wanted not a computer but a station, so that all his aspect will be around it, like a music, or I mean, the way we see the Wi-Fi hub, he was envisioning that. So we understand the Wi-Fi was a technology, but as a hub, it was Steve's like a vision that we understand. Because till that point, IBM will create a computer. That's it, or then there will be Windows in. That's it. But Steve will try to create a hub and music, and including the floppy disk, because it should be a disk reader, and it has been like Walter has narrated so thoroughly that even a CEO which doesn't take a salary of like $1 salary a year, no stock option, but the board accepts everything, because till now the board was not doing anything. Now Steve is going in each and everything, including on the production line, like what Sony is bringing, and what is the how the computer should look, or aesthetic, everything. Not only that, in the showroom, how it should be. He doesn't wanted the big chain to sell his Apple. During that time, it was like Circuit City, or Sears, or Service Merchandise. Those companies used to market the PCs. Steve doesn't want that. Steve wanted his own showroom. People said, how can we do all these distribution centers? But he did. And even which site in the mall to decide, it was very thorough. And when they selected the site, how it should come, like, I mean, the way people come, they should get an experience, as an Apple experience, a different experience. Steve was very thorough in that. Or it was, Walter is described Steve tantrum. That's what it says. Uh, and we understand that, like, because earlier I till I listened this biography, I didn't know all these things. So that changed my vision a lot, and I understood so many things. Because as a CEO, which takes $1 salary, and he would be like a, from distribution to showroom, and how showroom should be aesthetically, including where should be the washroom, those kind of things. Also, Steve was very meticulous in that. I mean, it looks funny, but it was. And it was started the inventory, because that time it was like a people make the inventory, and then if it is not sold, the share market will come up down. So just in time inventory kind of thing he started. So Apple will have only like a 1 to 10 days of inventory always, and whenever the order comes, they will start it. During this time, he interviewed uh, the current CEO, Tim Cook, and he joined from Compaq to Apple, and he becomes like next successor of Steve after that. So we understand how how he described the Apple, and uh, he will be very thorough in every aspect of it. Uh, why this is very important? Because those people will remember, like from Windows 95 to Windows 2000 or 98 to 2000, when the new version was coming in, it has same bugs. They just fixed the same bugs and created a new version. Now that was the marketing strategy. But when Bill Gates was inaugurating that, people literally threw the tomatoes and I mean, it was literally overthrown the ceremony because they people wanted something new or fresh attributes, not just the bug fixing from previous to new. So here the Steve's vision looks, or we understand that all the Apple products, whenever they go in, they will have a distinctive new features, distinctive Apple experience. And when the new Macintosh was introduced, Steve again, I mean, that how he rehearsed his speech several times, including how he will look, what should be the lighting, uh, and the sound. I mean, people literally you are thinking, "Oh my God, you are CEO and you are looking at all these things." And literally he did, and it was the same great experience which was Apple One now. We understand Steve in great length. After Millennium crossover, the micro technology started coming in because the dot-com bubble was burst. In 2000, Apple price also went down, and during that time, I think they persuade Steve to start taking salary in Apple. So and during that time only the Pixar was sold to Disney or acquired by Disney. So Steve decided to become like a full time in like a, now even that intermediate status has gone. That's what I'm trying to tell. So he become, and then they gave him, but he did not want anything like extravagantly. He would, but only thing he wanted a plane. I mean, that's what he said. He wanted a plane, and then he went with his family. That's what, like he wanted to show the family aspect of Steve in that episode. Now in the after 2000, like Steve went into music. The because earlier he had like a great. I mean, he delayed Apple release only for the floppy disk because the disk driver should have a like a Sony has a driver which can read the DVD. Like you can burn it and read it. Like you listen the music as well as burn the music. Uh, so that was Apple was missing. So they changed it. And after 2000, it was micro technology start coming in. Steve went to the music. So he started again giving the same experience. Though they started the iTunes store. Uh, Again, Steve was very thorough in hardware and software integration. He never liked uh, that it should be the generalization, the way Windows does it. Like Windows can go into another any computer, but Apple will have its own software always. He will always wants even Adobe or any all the other things they have. They were asking Apple specific thing needs to be there, and it was not liked as well. Like because iTunes store, you can get only Apple product. iTunes will run only on the Apple and not anything else. So that was people called it a monopoly, but he was very thorough and he said that's an experience, Apple experience. So iTunes store will have like a DVDs, movies, burning, listening, reading, and computer, everything in one, and all the products will be um, uh, again how he will do the experiments. It was showing like he did the experiments of like a fully transparent computer chassis, means you can see everything inside. Because if you see IBM or Compaq or Dell, you don't see anything inside. But he made so those kind of experiments I'm talking about. Then the laptop thing came. So again, Steve will be very thorough. But now year 2003 came, and the next or probably the last phase of his stars, where he was diagnosed with the cancer. It was a normal kidney. I mean, he had a kidney problem earlier, so it was a normal thing. And in his routine checkup, it was understood there is a uh, his liver and pancreas has the probably we need to look at. And then they did the biography, like putting the needle in, and it was identified the cancer. But for some reason, Steve didn't wanted to take the chemotherapy right away. He tried to do the nature therapy, and that was probably the only wrong decision he made. That's what Walter thinks. Uh, he delayed any like a chemotherapy or anything, any other uh, treatment for 9 months, and then it was clear that the cancer has been, now we cannot do anything. So then he started it, uh, but it just, he was never uh, fully recovered. That's what we understand. Like from iTunes, then iPods, and then like flagship, the iPhones. It was just kept on going. Then iPad. Every time Steve will try to give a Apple experience, and how, including showroom to inauguration to, I mean, everything. He wanted to show that it's a different. So it shows his leadership style, passion for the technology, and he wanted to make something different. And his the tech people like Larry Ellison, because Larry Ellison was like a long served CEO of Oracle, and those were in his belt, like they were on his board, and including who comes on board, Steve will have like a very great selection criteria. It was very nicely, thoroughly explained, and including and each and everything, how he goes into the deep. Uh, like in 2009, he or 10, I think 2010, he was introduced with Barack Obama, the president at that time, and he gave the suggestion that in the education we are still using the like a chalk and a board, but Apple can show like all the thing digital. Like uh, he explained how the thing can change, and President Obama accepted it. And after that, we see all the schools become like a digital. Like a teacher will do tick tick. Like it was like entire board, like a board was like a digital. They don't need to write something, like everything was digitized. So that was Steve's suggestion, which I didn't know, because I mean I had experienced that myself, because my daughter was in the school, and earlier whenever there is a school day, I used to go and they will like with the chalk, and I mean it was a normal thing, and afterwards it becomes suddenly digital. So and I saw that how that board looks, and how the teacher like points and then things comes. Uh, that revolution started with Steve. I understood from the book. Uh, Finally, I mean, he was very thorough, adamant, calm, and even in the latter stage of his cancer diagnosis, he will be always think deeply, very passionate. He wanted a product. I mean, we are not selling something just a piece, not for a consumer thing. Like, I mean, consumer wanted and we sell, it's not like that. They should get the Apple experience. And that was so everybody would feel the vision behind it. And Steve was everything. Like, once we understand, the entire board will nod. When Steve says something, everybody will nod. Most of the time, we understood that. And he will be that macro managing from here to here. Again, now Walter has criticized him as well. Like several times, he said Steve was very macro managing, and that means almost like people will get fed up with a lot of like a Steve's tantrum. That's what they were calling it. But the great people like I mean the like Bill Gates or Larry Ellison and other like HP, other tech CEOs, they understood it, like how his vision is. I mean, whatever he says, not like the normal person may feel like intimidated or like oh what I mean, let me do my work, but it is not like that. Like Steve will be doing everything thoroughly with him. Another aspect, like Steve won't he doesn't like the meetings. He will, if he wants to talk you something, he will take you a walk. That was the specialty. If you are getting a invitation from Steve for a walk, that means that is something very special he will discuss, and something thorough will come up. So including the showroom, like which go down to buy and everything, he will take a walk and then decide. Uh, Apart from that, he would not use a license plate on his car. Uh, then he will park in the handicapped session, handicapped parking lot. He will occupy two. Like he will park in the middle. So, and he will always do that. So those are the kind of funny things. Apart from that, he explained his like a family. He was very deep passionate about his children, and uh, so that is also Walter took all the in great details, which is like a very good audio book, 25 hours. It will take some time, like if you listen it. But once I started it, I was literally not able to stop it because earlier I never listened 25 hours. I can tell you that never happened. This is the first time, and I was never bored or I never couldn't stop listening more and more. And I would recommend it's a wonderful book. And if you, especially if you want to understand Steve, please, Walter Isaacson, Steve Jobs. Thank you.